All right. Hope you all can hear me. First of all, a very good evening, everyone. So I warmly welcome you all to the inaugural edition of Young Planners Forum Knowledge Cafe webinar series. So on behalf of the uh, Young Planners Forum of the Institute of Town Planners Sri Lanka, I warmly welcome you all to this live webinar. We all heard the quote, knowledge is power. Knowledge is the power. So YPF initiated this Young Planners Forum Knowledge Cafe on the theme of sharing knowledge for a better world. So in the inaugural edition, we decided to invite a very versatile resource person to talk about this topic, to discuss about how the experience of that versatile personality with young undergraduates of the Department of the Town and Country Planning Sri Lanka, and also the young planners around the country. All right. So without taking too much time, let me introduce the resource person who's going to talk with you, who's going to share her experience with you today. So let me start with explaining her academic experience. All right. So I'm proud to say she's an undergraduate who has completed her undergraduate degree in the Department of Town and Country Planning, University of Moratuwa, Sri Lanka. She completed her undergraduate degree, BSc Town and Country Planning with a first class. And currently she is reading her PhD at the Manchester Metropolitan University. Also, she is an associate lecturer and GIS science demonstrator at that university. Also, she's a student panel member for the Programming Enhancement, Approval and Review panels. And also, during her university life, I already told you that she is a versatile personality. She has a lot of diverse set of skills. So she was a national badminton player, and she participated in national badminton games and inter-university badminton games and slug. And also she was an executive committee member of Mora Spirit Initiative. Also she was a volunteer at United Nations, and also she worked as a research assistant at the Department of Town and Country Planning, University of Moratuwa. Also she was a brand ambassador at Big Choice Group, empowering young people. So there are so many experiences in her profile, but I'm not going to share everything with you all. So she will explain about her career, she will explain about her experiences. So without taking too much time, I'll introduce you to our resource person today is Sandaru Weerasinghe. We warmly welcome you to the Knowledge Cafe webinar series.
Thank you, Shahan. Thank you very much. That was a lovely introduction. And so, yeah, without taking much time, first I'd like to thank you, YPF and ITPSL, for inviting me to do this webinar to the town planning students and the other people who are interested as well. So let me straight away go to my, I've prepared a few slides for my reference, as well as to give a brief summary about my research, what I'm doing in my PhD. So I'll talk you through that first. Let me share the screen with you. Can you all see? Is it clear? Shahan, can you see?
Yeah, we can see the screen. Can you put the presentation mode on so we can see the entire slide?
Okay. Right. So my research is about measuring the fear of crime to support healthy environmental design. So I'm taking my research with as a way of taking urban planning forward with new technologies. So I'll brief you about a few key areas of my research. So this research is to explore the insights that can be generated by a new survey methodology. So the base of the research is the fear of crime studies. And to see what environmental cues or what environmental factors would provoke the fear of crime in people, and then to identify the people's emotional responses to the fear of crime, and then measure those emotional responses, and then linking it to the measurements of fear of crime, and ultimately to support the policy initiatives in urban planning. So the first the first review that I did was to see what new technology that I can use in my research, because that was to overcome the traditional the shortcomings of the traditional survey methods. For example, if you use a survey questionnaire in your study, then it will either be before an incident or after an incident took place. So if it's before an incident, then the participant will have to assume of a future incident and then fill out the questionnaire. If it's after an incident, then the participant will have to revisit their memory of the incident and then fill out the questionnaire, which we call in the literature as respondents recall. So if we this respondents recall will lead to lack of detail, and it could be there could be misinterpretations, and ultimately it might not give you accurate outcome of the experiences that they had at that particular time when the incident took place. So in order to overcome these shortcomings of traditional survey methods, I chose to use virtual reality and physiological measures, which will allow me to obtain real-time data of the environment as well as the participants or the people in my study. So the bottom layer was a general review of the virtual reality, what virtual reality is, and what are the studies that have used virtual reality, and how it can be used in urban planning, and what are the applications of it, etc. And then I narrowed it down to the studies of people's perception, where they have used virtual reality. Right. Okay. Can everyone please mute their microphones?
Yeah, I was going to ask, can the meeting host mute everyone except resource person?
Right. Okay. So back to the virtual reality review triangle. So when I did the general review of virtual reality, then I narrowed it down to the studies that have used virtual reality to identify people's perception, and then linking it to my study, I further narrowed it down to the studies that have used virtual reality or similar techniques to determine the people's fear of crime experiences. And so what made me take my research in this direction was that the existing literature in this field has not been able to pick up this spatial and temporal sensitivity due to the traditional survey technology, like I mentioned before. And as a result of that, they were not able to catch the real-time data and so to be precise, the context-specific and the time-specific measurements and the assessments. So I will be using 360-degree videos as a reflective of the reality, and that will allow me to have this spatial and temporal sensitivity that were missing in the previous studies and the previous literature. Along with the 360-degree videos, there will be physiological measures that I'll be looking at. That one is the eye tracking and one is the pulse monitoring. So there will be a equipment called virtual reality head-mounted display with a built-in eye tracking device, which is called the Tobii eye tracking. The brand is Tobii, and I'll be using that in my study to get the physiological measures of the people, and to have an idea what environmental factors would provoke the fear of crime in them. And it will also allow me to determine the mediating and moderating factors that may influence them, their perception of the particular urban environment. So all in all, my research, the direction that I'm taking this research is to develop a new method or new technology called improvement, and to have a discussion on that, and have a discussion on the existing new measures that are available in the research field, and to say that why I have chosen this particular method or particular technique, and then linking it to my methodology. And what's essential is to develop a study design that is manageable, that is achievable over the course of 3 years, because my PhD is 3 years here, and now I'm in the final year. So it is really important, and it is crucial to have a manageable study design, because that's why I'm only looking at the fear of crime. Other than that, there are so many other aspects that a researcher can look at. For example, it could be the contentment, not the fear. It could be another emotion. It could be another perception. But my study is based on the fear of crime, and the ultimate goal is to have a conceptualized design for a healthy street, or for healthy environment, and then to link that with healthy cities. So that is about my research in a brief summary. So there will be new methods I'm looking at, and then there will be the generation of new forms of data using those new methods, and those new methods plus the new forms of data will lead to new knowledge through this research. And I will speak about the importance of using new methods and new forms of data in urban planning field shortly. So that's about my research, and this is a slide where I have just put down a few specific topics that I'd like to share my experiences about, which I thought that would be useful for the people, especially the students who have joined the webinar. And first, if you are to pursue a PhD or a research career, and well, doing a research is a stress itself, and it's a challenge itself, because a PhD is like a huge, massive challenge, because you have to complete everything within 3 years, 3 or 4 years. In the UK, I'm based in the UK, so in the UK it's mainly about 3 years, and so there is a thesis that you have to complete, and you have to allocate a major portion of your time for the data collection, data analysis, and everything, because it's the whole analysis is a trial and error session, because you will be encountering many challenges and issues when you start the technical implementation of your research. So if there are any questions that you'd like to ask about pursuing a PhD or obtaining scholarship, just let me know. Or Shahan, can you, if there's any particular things that you want me to talk about, you can just interrupt and say that. So like Shahan said, so I wanted to pursue a PhD because I was really passionate about the new techniques and the new technologies that can be used in the urban planning field to have better urban development plans and strategies. So I decided to specialize in the geographical information science, and I pursued a MSc in that field. And that's where I learned that I should take this forward in the direction that I will be using these the skills that I learned in my bachelor's and my MSc to do like better research in this field. And one thing I'd like to say, I will link the new trends in urban planning to the pursuing PhD topic as well. So if you the new trends in the urban planning these days is I think it's kind of similar everywhere in the world. In the UK, it's like you have to have programming skills in order to secure a job either in the industry or the academia. So mainly what people are looking for is your skills in programming and customizing the urban planning tasks. So in my university, the undergraduates are being taught ArcGIS, but that is not the major, the main application they're using. But they're being taught the QGIS and RStudio. They both are like programming platforms which allow people to write the code or script and then customize it as you go. So that is the skill that is required these
Okay,
days.
thanks, Chandrikan. Okay, right.
That is the skill that is required in this these days in this field, especially in the urban planning field, because it's like we have moved forward from an era where we just sat down in front of a computer and open an application and just pressed buttons and let it do the analysis for us. But now we have moved from that era to where we script what we want and then get our work done. So it's all about customizing, personalizing the work you do. And because these scripts can be reiterated and repeated by anyone according to their need and want. So that is one of the main and major skills that is required by the industry and academia these days. So I started learning programming in the final year of my undergraduate. We had 2 modules. So that's what led me to pursue a master's in that specific field area, and the PhD after that. So if you want to like obtaining a scholarship for a PhD, because pursuing a PhD without a scholarship, of course you can do it, but I wouldn't recommend doing a PhD without a scholarship, because it is something, it's a 3-year program, it's a 3-year course, and then students always look for scholarships in order to do a PhD. So for you to have obtain a secure PhD scholarship in a particular university, your resume matters a lot, and your experiences in the field of research, and you should be able to draft a really good PhD research proposal that will convince the university and your potential supervisors that you are capable of carrying out the research and then within the given time frame, obviously. So that is one thing that they look at. And the other thing is, if you have conference proceedings, if you have presented at conferences, and if you have journal publications, they add a lot of value to your PhD scholarship outcome. Because by the time I applied for my PhD, I had 1 journal publication in pending, and about 4 or 5 conference proceedings. So that was a really good reason that they awarded me the scholarship to pursue the PhD. And people can directly go pursue a PhD after the undergraduate. There is no having a master's before PhD is not a must. If you are capable of doing, if you are confident and capable of doing a PhD right after your bachelor's, you can go for that. In my case, I wanted to specialize in a particular area before going for a PhD. So that's why I decided to take a master's. So it's different from person to person. So I will come to the living abroad part towards the end of the webinar. And one of the significant topics these days is the COVID. So it is really essential to carry out your research in light of COVID these days. And I had some personal experiences. I wouldn't say they are very nice experiences, because when UK was on lockdown from March till June or July, and my data collection tasks and everything got delayed because of that. And so that is one thing that as a researcher I had to adapt to. And so my ethics application was already approved, because you have to have ethics approval in order to carry out a research. It doesn't have to be a PhD. In any kind of research, you have to have ethical approval to carry out the research. So I had to revisit and resubmit my ethics application in light of COVID, and to undertake hygiene training as well, because my research involves human participants. For people who would be doing research like the desk-based research, COVID would not have had a major impact on them. But if you are about to go to the field and collect data and have human participants involved in your research, so carrying out it in light of COVID is really crucial to your research, and to be within the frame of these hygiene regulations. And so students who are doing the ISRPs these days, I think given the Sri Lankan situation, they will also have to, my opinion is they will also have to look at how these COVID-19 regulations, and what are the regulations in place, and how they can carry out the research in light of COVID. So because the regulations differ from country to country. And the other thing is living abroad and pursuing a PhD abroad, staying away from your family and everything. So, well, it's a very tough task. But if you are passionate about doing what you want, and if you have a solid goal, then I would say it's something that you can overcome quite easily. And yeah, so that's all about it. And I would now like to have some questions and answering session,
Yeah.
if that would be.
We can move on with some questions. So we have some ready-made questions, as well as we are going to allow the listeners to raise questions as well. So you talked about selecting your PhD field, and there are a lot of fields that we can do PhDs. There are a lot of fields that we can do. So like if a person is interested in real estate, or if a person is interested in some other subject field like environmental studies or whatever the studies. So they have to pick their subject field to do their PhD or the master's. So when it comes to that subject field selection, how would you like to advise about this field selection?
Yes, so, well, a person can have an individual criteria as to what field they would like to select, because like I said earlier, these days programming skills is highly required by the industry and academia. So even if you do environmental planning or any other field in the urban planning, if you have that skill, that is a good thing. So I would say it doesn't matter what field you are going to select, so have the basic skills of programming with you, and that would take you a long way. But if you want to select a specific field, then choose a field that you are really passionate about. For example, I was not passionate about environmental planning at all. So I wanted to see how the technology can be applied into urban planning, the technical aspect of it. So that is another field. And but actually in urban planning, you cannot differentiate like environmental planning or other planning like that. It's all like, in the end, it's all combined, it's all connected to each other. So if you so after in the final year of your undergraduate, if you think that you want to pursue a master's, or you want to pursue a research career in this in environmental planning, then you can search for courses that are related to your choice. Like there are urban environmental planning masters that are linked to climate change and climate change, etc. So for me, what I directly looked for was MSc in Geographical Information Science, because that had and then you look at the content, and then you can have an idea what they offer to you. So my advice is select something that you're really passionate about. Otherwise you will get bored and you will be demotivated, and there is a high chance that you will drop out of that. So if you're not passionate about doing what you are doing, then that would not produce a good outcome. And at the same time, the being passionate is not enough, because if you are passionate about something, then you also should have the skill to do it, and you should be capable of doing it. So if you are passionate about pursuing a master's or a research career in environmental aspect, then I would suggest first develop your skills in that particular area, and then go for that. It's not really difficult to choose a field that you're interested in, because obviously in the first 2 years or first 3 years you wouldn't know what field you're interested in. But because that came to my mind when I was in the final year, and when we had the 2 programming modules. So just give yourself some time to realize what you are interested in and what you're passionate about, and then go pursue that. Are there any questions? Any other questions?
All right, so I was muted before. I cannot unmute it without the access of turning on. All right, now I received the access. All right, so next we would like to allow our audience to ask questions if they have any questions. So it's time for the audience to ask questions. You can ask anything you want related to our subject field, or if you want to ask anything related to her experiences. So you can just ask questions. So you can type the question in the chat box, or you can unmute your mic and ask the question. So do we have any questions? We'll see, we have like nearly 50 participants, so you can present the questions.
Okay, we have a question here.
All right.
Can you see that, or is it sent privately? Okay. Well, Nadisha is asking how is about your experiences learning at abroad and how do you overcome barriers? Okay. Uh, I've been living in the UK for nearly 3 years now because I did my master's in the UK as well. And well, the university I chose for my master's and the PhD, the learning experience was extremely good, and the facilities and everything they were really good. And well, in my case, I did not have any like major trouble settling in the UK because I had family living in the UK. But for someone who's coming to a overseas country and starting a learning process there, the settling in would take about 1 to 2 weeks. And then adjusting to the new culture, adjusting to the weather especially, and making new friends. So it's all part of the learning process. It's not just you read and write and you go to lectures and you do assignments, submit them, get marks and graduate. So the one of the main things about learning abroad is the exposure you get. So that is a major part of your like the academic learning process, because people the students in Sri Lanka, they usually go pursue higher studies in other countries because they are quite they want to get that exposure. They like to have that exposure and to be to see what culture the other countries have, and to get new experiences. Because like, and it doesn't necessarily mean that, so if you're in the UK doing a master's or a PhD, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to adapt to their culture. It's just you see what you get the good things from their culture, and you observe the I wouldn't say bad things, but I would say things that you are not very comfortable with. You can just observe and you can open your eyes and get the exposure to those things. So it's all part of the learning process, I would say. And to overcome these the barriers, the other thing is like living far away from your family would be really hard on some people. And well, the technology is there these days, so I connect with my family through video calls and any kind of technological platforms. So that is there. So it gives us kind of a bit of peace of mind that we can see our family members through video calls, and we can connect with them through voice calls, etc. And I would say if you are going to live far away from your family, just keep in touch with your family as every day. I would suggest every day, because I call my mother every day. And so that, because don't let these external barriers impede your progress, or like make you suffer alone. So it's all about having a strong head, because if you when the moment you decide that that you want to go pursue higher studies in another country, that's when your growth starts. Because living alone, getting your things done by yourself, and doing the learning as well at the same time, and it's all part of this learning process. Because when you graduate, when you are done with the degree and when you go back to the country, you will be a whole new person, not in terms of your appearance or the qualities, but you will have gained a lot of other like very positive qualities and positive impact from these are the friends you make here and the academic people you meet here. Because it also allows you to expand your network of the professional network, because you get the chance to attend many conferences, and present in many conferences. That's how you build up your network of professionals, especially if you are into the academic career. Having like living abroad and doing a degree overseas is really a positive thing. I hope that helps. Okay, there was another question. Could you please explain what level of research engagement is expected in the PhD level compared to master's and bachelor's program? From understanding, yeah, that's a good question actually. Thank you, Malit, for that. And well, in a PhD, the research engagement has to be well, I would say 100%, because it's the highest level of achievement in the education ladder. And for a bachelor's, in an undergraduate, you can have the research engagement. It doesn't necessarily have to be 100%, because you do it in line with other lectures, extracurricular activities, and stuff. Because I did my ISRP while I was on industrial training. So, but in a PhD, you have to be committed to your research full time. So that's why it's like it gives you time to do your own research or your own review and everything, but you have to be really committed to that. And a good example for that is when I undertook associate lecturing here, the advice given to me by my principal supervisor was that he didn't want me to take a lot of hours in teaching, and especially in the final year. So I had to limit my teaching hours to 2 hours per week when I came to my final year. So because the engagement to research in the PhD level has to be like really high. You have to be fully committed to it, because in the end, the outcome has to be accurate and outcome has to be novel. It has to be new contribution to the knowledge. So in order to get that outcome, the engagement has to be 100% in the PhD level. Because the more you review, the more you do, the more like the better you understand what you're doing, and the better the outcome. So I would say undergraduate level doesn't require 100%, but the master's level would require about 70 to 80%, because they're in the master's level in UK, you do your dissertation over the period of 3 months during the summer. So that particular 3 months, you have to be fully committed to your dissertation. So, but it's just a 3 months time scale that you get. So you can, it doesn't require much details as a PhD, but PhD is a 3 or 4 years. So it needs 100% engagement to your research. I hope that answered. And the analyzing, and because the research, I spent all my first year reviewing, like reading articles, reviewing, and trying to frame my research. So that took me an year. So the second year was where I had a perfect understanding of what I was doing, because in my first year, to be honest, I didn't have an idea of where to take this research. So I had a very broad idea. Okay, I want to do this, I want to do that, I should be using this technology and that technology, but I didn't know where I was taking the research. But it took me a year to narrow it down to a specific direction. So that was the first year gone, and I was left with another 2 years. The second year was where I was meant to collect my data and do the pilot studies and preliminary studies and get the initial outcomes. And thanks to COVID, I had to delay that as well. So I was a bit stressed, not a bit stressed, I was a lot stressed. So I hope my colleagues who are pursuing PhDs in other countries are also like, may have faced the same situation like me. So because the COVID was a world situation. And And then the final year is usually, oh, not the whole final year, but good part of the final year would be the writing up, because you have to finish your first draft of the thesis and then get the feedback, and it would definitely involve a few times of revisions, and so yeah, it requires a lot of time, effort, and energy, and 100% commitment and engagement is required, in my opinion. I hope that answered Malit's question. Let me know if it didn't. And my question is, what kind of academic areas that we can enhance as young planners if we go for master's and PhD levels? Okay. What kind of academic areas that we can enhance? The question is not that clear to me. What do you mean by what academic areas that you can enhance as young planners? Well, like I said before, choosing a specific path or a specific aspect for the for you to pursue a master's or a PhD. Well, it all depends on what you are passionate about and what you really want to do. Because if I chose environmental planning for my master's, then I would not be here doing a PhD in this field today. So because I was really passionate about the technological aspect of urban planning. So, but there are people who are passionate about environment planning and the other kind of aspects of the urban planning, but it all goes under the umbrella of urban planning. So it doesn't matter what path you chose, ultimately it links to urban planning. So that's where your end goal would be. So you will be contributing to either to the policy initiatives of urban planning or plan making or plan development. So that would be one thing to be to concern about. So my advice is, I always tell the youngsters this: do something that you're passionate about. Otherwise, there is high chance that you would get fed up halfway. So don't do something because another person is doing that, or because someone else told you to do that. Just first realize your potential and then know what you want to do and then go pursue that, I would say. Okay, also about creating knowledge in PhD or BScs. Yeah, okay. So the difference between, well, when you talk about the engagement of research in a PhD level, so creating like in a BSc or a MESC level, there is like, you can do a research, either a design research where you develop a web application or a tool and you present it. And then in an undergraduate level, what matters is the process you follow in the research. So you do have a flow chart of where you review the literature and then you determine a research gap, and then you come up with a methodology or a method, and then you do the data collection and then analyze that data and then get the outcome. So that outcome in an undergraduate research might not be very new, might not contribute to new knowledge, but that is fine, because what matters in an undergraduate research is the process that you follow, the method. If the method is new, if that method has not been applied in the Sri Lankan context or not been applied at all, then that is a good thing. So that is where your contribution is. So the outcome doesn't have to be new. It has to be at least some content of your research is new in the undergraduate level. I would say that would make a good undergraduate dissertation. And whereas in masters, for my masters, I had the option to do like a qualitative research or a design research. So I opted to do a design research where I developed a web application for green spaces in Manchester. So that was again, that involved a lot of programming, and the final outcome was a design tool. So that had a lot of advantage to doing a qualitative research, because I knew once I'm done with the web application, that is something new, that kind of a tool has not been there before, has not been used by the people before. So that is the advantage of this doing a design research. But if you are doing a qualitative, like a non-design research in the master's level, then again it will include a lot of analyzing, a lot of data collection, a lot of analyzing, and then the outcome. So even in the master's level, as long as you have a solid analysis method, like analysis flow of analysis, and then like a clear methodology of what you're going to do in the research, I think that would add good value to a master's dissertation. So it doesn't necessarily have to have a new contribution to knowledge in the end. But in the PhD, it's a must to have a new contribution to knowledge, because the outcome of in the end of 3 years should be a new contribution to knowledge. So that's why the commitment and the engagement has to be 100% in a PhD level. If your research doesn't produce like new knowledge, then that would not be a PhD in the end. So that would be called a MPhil or a Master's by Research, and you will not be able to defend yourself at the final viva. So that's why a PhD is a lot different from doing a PhD and a master's level. I hope that answered Malit's question. And yeah, are there any other questions?
I think we don't have any other questions in the chat box. So if someone wants to unmute their mic and for the question, so feel free to unmute your mic, or just send a message to the host that you want to unmute your mic and ask a question, so we can allow you to ask a question. So until then, I'll forward another question. So this is something not directly related to academics. So we have heard that you are a badminton champion. You have done many extracurricular activities during your undergraduate life. So I want to ask that how did you manage to balance extracurricular activities, especially when you're doing a sport? You have to spend a lot of time on the field as well. So you have obtained a first class while being a national badminton player, and you have won several badminton tournaments as well. So how did you manage between these two things without failing in a single segment? So most of the times what we see is the people who are very good at academics are not very good at sports and extracurricular activities, and some other times the people who are very good at sports are missing the grades. They're not gaining a first class or a second up at the end of their undergraduate life. So you have done a pretty good job at academics and gain a first class also. You have won several badminton tournaments and then several other extracurricular activities. So how did you manage? It is something that a simple person cannot do.
Well, I wouldn't say that, because I'm a very simple person. And well, to start with, I would say my academic achievements came from my skills and my ability to do sports. It came from within that, because I was so passionate about playing badminton, and well, to be honest, I I was doing maths in my when I had to choose a stream for my LLs. I was doing maths, and then after 6 months, I wanted to do something that will give me time to do badminton as well, because with maths, well, the people who have done maths and bio, they know that it's really hard because the tuition classes and revision classes and everything. So then I switched to arts stream, only because I wanted to do badminton. And So I think that was one of the best decisions I've ever made. And well, in the university, so well, we have like semester exams and everything. I missed about I used to miss at least 1 month in every semester, or like a couple of weeks in every semester or every year, due to my badminton career. And I wouldn't take the credit all to myself, because I had a superb network of friends in the university, and they covered for me. I even though I was away like in another country playing a tournament, after the tournament I always had a chat with my friends, and I knew what the lectures were about, and the assignments that they were given and everything. And I was in touch with the lecturers as well, and I was excused from the lectures. So I had an amazing support network in the uni, in my like, the batchmates, the seniors, the juniors, and the lecturers too. So if you well, to manage both academics and the sports career, it's like you have to have well, you have to have, I wouldn't say you have to have like a solid timetable, but you should be aware of the time that you will be allocating to sports and to academics, because there were days that I had to I had an exam just before a tournament. So there were semesters that my GPA went down. Like I tried to maintain a first class throughout the semester, but there were semesters that it was second upper, because like I had a tournament just before the exam started, or I had a tournament just after exam finished. So there were like different kind of obstacles that I had to face, and all of them were possible to overcome because I had determination, and I was surrounded by a group of amazing friends which had my back. And so that was one good thing. And my lecturers understood my sports career and the academic career both. So I had they were quite flexible in that, and I was quite flexible in rescheduling my practices and everything in the badminton area. So I would say, if I didn't do sports, I really don't think I would be doing a PhD today, because being a badminton player, that kind of sharpened my knowledge, like my thinking ability, because different sports give you different kinds of abilities and skills. So it kind of give me this logical and rational thinking capability, and it was the foundation of my academic achievements, I would say. I would put it that way. So and then I was part of the Mora Spirit as well. So yeah, I had, even though I was committed to many other things than the academics, I had enough time to finish the assignments on time and attend lectures as many as possible. So it's really important to have an amazing support system in the university, in your surroundings. That definitely have to include your friends, batchmates, seniors, juniors, and the lecturers. And of course your family is there. So apart from your family, within the uni, you need to have a very good support system. if you want to like keep balance of both academic and sports. And then you have to have the determination and the courage to do so, because once you set your mind on a goal, then that's it. I mean, that inspiration, that determination is enough to take you a long way. So because I did play for the University of Manchester when I was doing my masters, and it's sad to say, but I haven't played badminton in 2 years now because I was fully committed to the PhD, and I was planning on continuing badminton in my final year, but all my equipment is back home, so I didn't get a chance to go back home. So it's very tough with COVID and everything happening around the world. So yeah, it's balancing everything. If you get the opportunity, if you get the slightest opportunity to engage in an extracurricular activity, it doesn't have to be a competitive sport. You don't have to like play competitive sport. Even if it's like a drama society or any kind of an extracurricular activity, please do engage in that. That will shape your future in a very bright way. So that would be my advice about that. And it's not really hard to balance many things at once. If you have the will, you can do it, because if I can do it, anyone can do it. So it's nothing. It's not like it's not rocket science, or it's not magic. So it's just a process where you have to learn to allocate time, where you have to learn to manage your time, where you have to learn what percentage of commitment you require in this particular thing, and what percentage of commitment you require in sports. And so that is a good thing. And also I had an amazing badminton family back in the University of Morotua, so they understood that I had commitments to my academic academic career as well. So I wouldn't say academic career, I would say academics as well. So yeah, it was all it's essential to have a very good support system around you that would help you shape yourself. Yeah. Thank you for bringing up that question, Shahan, actually.
All right. So I think it's 7 p.m. Right now. So we've allocated 1 hour for the webinar. So I would like to, as a final remark, I would like to suggest you to give a final message to our undergraduates, and especially for the young planners out there. So what would you like to add? I would like to end the session with a message.
Yeah, so for all the youngsters out there, I would say have something with you that will allow you to achieve better in the future. For example, in my case, it was my programming skills. My programming skills in my resume made a huge impact for them to make the decision and award me this opportunity. And so, because I would say try and adapt to the new trends of urban planning, because that's where we are living in a digital era. So try and adapt to the digital era and make use of the new technologies that is available to you, and always live with a curious mind to see, if I use this, what would be what the outcome would be, and if I use this, what this particular technology can give back to me. And to like see, because in your first year you may have used certain techniques, so when you get your final year with the new technologies, see how those all technologies can be replaced with these new technologies. Always live with a curious mind, and that will take you a long way. So that's my final message. Like, have a curious mind, do extracurriculars, have a balanced life, and well, socialize a lot, and always, even whatever, it doesn't matter, whatever the thing you do, always be curious and passionate about what you do. Yeah, thank
All
you.
right. Thank you very much for that wonderful message, and thank you very much for the inspiration. And I think now it is time to wrap up the session. First of all, before wrapping up the session, I would like to thank Sandaru Weerasinghe for being a resource person for this inaugural edition of Young Planners Forum Knowledge Cafe. So it's a great pleasure to have you as the resource person of this very first edition. And I would like to thank all the participants who came today. We had more than 50 participants for this very first edition of YPF Knowledge Cafe. So on behalf of the Institute of Young Planners Forum and the Young Planners Forum, beg your pardon, on behalf of the Young Planners Forum of the Institute of Town Planners Sri Lanka, I would like to thank everyone for participating. Once again, I would like to thank our resource person as well. So it's time to wrap up the session. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll meet in another resourceful live webinar with this Young Planners Forum Knowledge Cafe webinar series. Thank you very much for joining our session.
Thank you. Thank you.